All right, welcome everyone. I have been looking forward to today for quite a while. I'm really excited to have Dr. Jeanette Yamamoto here with us. Oils and pets is a really fun and interesting topic, and one that we get a lot of questions about. And so it's really an honor for her to take time from her schedule to be able to share this time with us, because she's a very busy lady. There's a lot of different things that she does, plus she's a mom as well, and she has kids and activities. So I met Dr. Yamamoto a few years ago now. She was a friend of Millie Hensley, if you guys know Millie, and I was referred to her when our dog had hurt her back, and we wanted to know how we could help her. So we made an appointment and took her in. Dr. Yamamoto's been practicing in Santa Clarita for about the past 16 years. And so I was able to bring our dog in and get an assessment done. And what was really nice is, in addition to the traditional recommendations that she made for us, she also said, now I know you use oils, so if you want, you can also go home and put a drop of frankincense and a drop of rosemary on her belly, and it's gonna help with her back feeling better. And we've been doing that now for, gosh, I think it happened about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's so neat to see. I mean, there's no placebo effect with animals, right? There's no sugar pill. They're not gonna just tell you they feel better to be nice. And we can see about 20 minutes after we apply it to her, the difference, because it's a chronic injury. It's something that she's gonna have for kind of the rest of her life. But we can tell when she's moaning and she's not feeling well. We'll put the oil on, and it's about like 17 to 20 minutes later that she's bringing the ball to us and she wants to play again. And so she's feeling better, and you can tell it right away. So I just love that fact that, you know, we love using the oils on ourselves so much. By the way, my name's Beth Phillips. I forgot to mention, right? But I'm not the important one here. She is. So it's just nice because we realize how much relief and support they bring us, but for our four-legged babies, they also can bring that same amount of support and comfort. So I'm going to turn the time over to Dr. Yamamoto.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate the time that you're taking to spend with me. This has been something I've been very excited to do. And it has been a gradual process. I've been part of doTERRA for a few years now, and a veterinarian for 16 years. So incorporating oils is a slow process, because coming from a Western medicine background, incorporating these new Eastern medicine type holistic remedies, it takes some time when you have a background like mine, but it's really cool to see how they help. I'm growing in my use with them for myself, for my family, as well as animals. So bear with me today if I don't have all the answers for you. I do have references where I can get you answers, but my hope is that this is going to be very informative, and hopefully dispel some of the myths and theories out there that I know are circulating all over the internet. I want to try and help everybody focus and really find the right sources to find the information that I want you to find, and use caution with things like Google and Pinterest when you're looking, because my ultimate goal is to not harm any pets with the use of oils, because I know they can be beneficial. Okay, so we're going to get started with the PowerPoint I put together today for you guys. Okay, so to start out, I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with those cute things on the bottom. So we're going to be focusing on dogs and cats, really the basics about essential oils. Obviously, this focus is with doTERRA, so I will be using specific names. As you guys all know, it is very important to be utilizing certified therapeutic grade oils. So that's what everything's going to focus on for here today. So just a little information about myself. I am originally from the Santa Clarita Valley. I was lucky enough to end up in Oklahoma, went to Oklahoma State University to receive my bachelor's in animal science, and then stayed out there to then in turn get my doctor of veterinary medicine at the university there, graduated in 2002. I came back to Los Angeles to complete a small animal rotating internship, and then spent a couple of years as an emergency critical care resident and really focused on emergency and critical care at a specialty clinic in LA while doing relief work and odds and ends out in Santa Clarita. I left the specialty world because I do have kiddos and needed to focus there, and have been practicing as a general practitioner for the past few years in Santa Clarita. And I'm currently located at Golden State Vet Care in Castaic. I do work there part-time Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I do own Peaceful Pets in-home euthanasia services, which is something I started a little over 6 years ago to allow pets to be comfortable in their own home. Unfortunately, when that time does come. I've been with doTERRA a few years, and like I'd mentioned earlier, I'm learning and growing and loving as we go along, and I'm grateful for the support that Beth and Millie and all my upline has given to me to allow me to be here and chat with you guys. So let's get started. So as a lot of you guys are aware, most veterinarians in the United States practice what we call Western medicine, meaning that things are based on scientific tradition, scientific evidence, where we incorporate medicine, surgery, things of that nature. Really based from the, I would say, Asian influence. You have a lot of Eastern medicine and alternative modalities, including homeopathic and holistic meds, talking about acupuncture, Reiki therapy, and that's where we have essential oils falling into. So what I have found is the incorporation of essential oils into Western medicine is the best thing to do, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on as far as my practice. But we're going to today go over essential oils for, again, just specifically dogs and cats, and see what we can use and to complement Western medicine. So the cool thing about essential oils, really how it benefits us is how it's going to benefit animals. They are their own little beings. They are different from us, but essential oils can be incorporated to aid in every aspect of their lives: immune system support, reducing stress and anxiety, assisting with training and alertness, more like focus when they're out there doing that, aiding with any sort of digestive issues, whether it be chronic or acute issues, supporting our major organ systems, that specifically being, liver, kidneys, heart, brain. And then when I say endocrine system, I'm talking about hormonal, thyroid, adrenal glands, things of that nature. Continuing on, wound healing is important. There's a lot of push for dental health in the veterinary world. We brush our teeth every day. Unfortunately, our animals don't. So there's a lot of emphasis on keeping those mouths clean. I think it's super important for us to be able to utilize essential oils for things like cancers, diseases, infections, stuff that we have to deal with day in and day out. Minimizing bleeding. And then just like for us, oils are safe for cleaning and those stinky litter boxes and things like that. Okay, so talking about application, again, the 3 ways we utilize for ourselves are the same way we utilize for our dogs and cats. It's aromatic, topical, and internal. And so we're going to start with aromatic, and I want to start by talking about where dogs specifically differ so much from people. So it starts with the nose, and compared to us, these guys have a significantly higher surface area. When you go into these little nostrils, there are lots and lots of turns and ebbs and weaves that are just loaded with little sensory cells. And depending on where you look, people are saying that they have up to 125 million, if not higher, sensory cells compared to us having 5 to 10 million. Okay, so that right there, we're talking a 10-fold increase. And then you factor in what they believe to be about 1/3 of the dog's brain is devoted to olfactory or scent cells. So you take that increased sensory cell all over that surface area in the nose, and then 1/3 of their brain devoted to smelling. They can smell thousands to millions times more than we can, so they are significantly more sensitive, and that's something that we have to keep in mind when we're utilizing essential oils. Cats are not as good as sniffers as dogs, but they are definitely exceeding our ability to smell and to take in that olfactory portion of their brain. So again, wanted to start there just to kind of clarify what we're talking about from a scientific standpoint. So to start, the first means of utilizing essential oils for dogs and cats is going to be diffusion. The most important part, and I'm sure if you guys have done any research, you'll see that when you do diffuse, we want to go ahead and ensure that you're not doing it in a real small space. And if you are, that we've got an open door or an open window where the dog or cat can walk in and out as they please. The reason I say that is because they can get agitated, they can get annoyed with the smells, and you don't want them to be cooped up. That can cause more anxiety. The other important part about it is we want to make sure we're using the water-based diffusers. So the Aroma Ace that doTERRA had out previously, where you're connecting the essential oil bottle to the diffuser itself, that's a little much. That's going to be a much higher concentration than we're looking for when we're trying to diffuse for our pets. Another means of aromatic application is going to be spraying into the air and really diluted with water. So you can spritz around an area that a dog's going to be at. That kind of goes along with the bedding, collar, and sweater. You can utilize a topical spray, as well as utilizing the oils neat, where you're just applying it directly to. Again, we don't want to go overboard when we're doing that. And then as far as direct inhalation, again, just like you and I would put a single drop in our hand, rub it in, and then where you're going to kind of cup your hands over the dog or cat's face or mouth, not too close. What I have found is some dogs, even with something as mild as lavender, it will elicit a cough response. So if you see that, or if they're walking away from you, please don't follow after them. It just means that that's not something that they're wanting to do at that point in time. You know, if they do like it, you can stay in that area. I tend to utilize just one hand over the nose or mouth versus both. And I'll place it, I would say, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches away from the nose, especially for dogs, given that I know their scents are a lot stronger than ours are. Okay, moving on. The next application is topical, and I put it on here 3 times with 3 exclamation marks because this is super important. You have to dilute these oils, period, end of story. I know we take a lot of information from babies, infants, when we're looking at dogs and cats, and really the key is dilution. So please keep that in mind. There are a number of references out there that talk about dilution. I do have some numbers on here that I pulled from Dr. Rourke, who is the dog oiler, that I'll talk about a little bit later. She's got some great references, but there are other ones out there as well, and I'll kind of point you guys in the right direction. So when we're talking about topical, a couple of ways we can do stuff is going to be a direct application. Again, a single drop, rub it into your hands, and then you're going to be kind of focusing. Most of the time I tell everybody, go over the back of the spine where you're integrating it into the hair coat and also kind of working it down into the hair. If there are specific areas that you have concern about, if we're incorporating stuff for, say, a specific mass, you can rub it directly over that area. You can also massage it in. If you're going to use a carrier oil and dilute out, you can massage into a specific area. And then the next slide, I'm going to talk about some reflexology points. Just like in people, animals also have specific points of interest that you can focus on. This is also something from Dr. Rourke. Again, as far as information about reflex points in dogs and cats, the information out there is pretty consistent, so you're not going to go wrong in looking at stuff. So this specific slide, you can kind of look, the ones I want to point out are going to be number 7, the intestines. So if you're looking at this, think of your dog or cat on its belly and those hind paws sticking straight up. So you've got your left and right. And so number 7, where the number is along the inside of the paws. That's a big one, more because we have a lot of digestive issues. I'm going to talk about that one a little bit later. So in that area, inside that main pad, you can utilize oils, massage that in, rub that in. But then it's cool. You know, you can go through and kind of, this allows you to focus on specific points in their body where you may not be able to apply any of the oils directly on there. So that's something to keep around. Okay. Next, we're gonna talk more about topical application. So my friend here, the basset, you can see has huge floppy ears. This is not gonna be a friend that we're gonna want to apply oils to, because as soon as he shakes his head, he's gonna thwack himself in the eyes and in the nose, and that's not where we want the oils. We wanna keep them away from the eyes and nose. So if you have a cat, it's a good place to put them is on the inside of the ear flaps, not in the ears. Same with some of our dogs that have shorter ears, and they can be floppy or sticking straight up, but you can utilize the tips of the ears to apply essential oils. You can also mix them in with shampoos and cream rinses. There are lots of natural products out there, but in one of the books I'm going to talk about, she does have some great recipes for natural ones in there. Another thing as far as application, this one I have to say I don't utilize a lot, but it is available out there for a reference or a means of application. And I think it's more because not all animals will tolerate this, but it would be a cold or a warm compress. And essentially what you're going to do is take 1 drop of the desired essential oil, mix it with 2 cups of either ice water or 2 cups of warm water, and then you're going to soak I would say some sort of natural cloth or even a warm or cold washcloth in there, wring it out, and then you can apply it to the affected area. This might be something if they've got a soft tissue injury, you can apply frankincense, something along those lines to aid with inflammation and discomfort. So that's something to use. So as I had mentioned earlier, when we're talking about avoiding eyes, nose, ears, I also want to mention avoid genitalia as well. So again, if you happen to get oils in these areas, just like with us, you want to utilize fractionated coconut oil or some sort of another carrier oil. Jojoba is fine, and you want to dilute out that oil. Give it a little bit of time, and hopefully your signs or any issues will resolve in a short period of time. And we want to make sure we're not using any topical essential oils when we are utilizing things like topical flea medication. There are some topical essential oil, omega fatty acids that are out there. So we do not want to utilize topical essential oils because I don't want to disrupt any other medication or in turn the medication disrupting the essential oils. So you can wait or apply in a different location. Please bear with us, guys.
Yeah, 1 second. We had somebody unmuted and now,
Oh, how funny.
I can't see the mouse. It's like behind the scenes.
Please hold.
Please hold
The good thing is, though, that you can't see that where I'm not seeing that.
that box.
Yeah.
So
How
weird
funny.
though. Should I try to speak?
Yeah, try it. Oh, there you go. Ah,
Okay.
Yay. All
everything
right.
happens power of 3.
Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is what I was talking about as far as dilution of essential oils. Now, if you just take a minute and try and wrap your head around the huge dilutions we're talking about, literally just take a minute and read this. This is completely opposite of what we do for ourselves. So when we're talking about, I would say I want to focus on the dogs that are greater than 20 pounds. So that third bigger point down. So we're talking as far as carrier oil, whether it be fractionated coconut oil, 1 drop to 50 drops of carrier oil. Now, again, this is just kind of a ballpark. The larger the dogs, the less carrier oil you have to use. But when we jump up to puppies and cats, that's a huge amount of dilution. And so I really want to emphasize that. You know, I know we talk about in us, less is more. We don't want to overdo it with oils. In animals, you really, really have to take that to heart. Our hot oils listed at the bottom there, it's 1 drop of oil per 100 drops of carrier oil. So this is huge. Later in the PowerPoint, I'm going to have some specific recipes that you guys can follow. But this is, again, just a basic guideline. You're going to find a bunch of different information out there. But the key is starting with a big dilution, and you can always add more oil, but you can't take it away so much. So be very, very conscientious when you're dealing with essential oils, especially puppies and cats, because you can see how sensitive they are just based on the listed dilution we have there. Okay. All right. Specific types of carrier oils. The one I'm going to focus on and highly recommend is going to be fractionated coconut oil. The cool thing about fractionated coconut oil is it's not only great as a carrier oil, but it's also great for dogs and cats in their skin. It's not going to clog pores. It's readily available. It has a longer shelf life than some of the others. The ones that I do have listed are going to be jojoba oil, almond oil, grapeseed oil. The grapeseed oil is definitely going to be lower on my list for dogs due to concerns with grapes themselves, but I would really focus on fractionated coconut oil if at all possible. Like I was mentioning before, more dilution is best, especially starting out with a new essential oil. I'm a big believer in adding 1 or 2 oils at a time, not bombarding them with a ton, kind of like how I do with myself or my kids. I just want to see if there's any sort of reaction. And as far as sensitivities, when you talk about people being sensitive, animals are going to be significantly more sensitive, especially our kitties. So bear in mind, for myself, one of the things I think about when I talk to people about it is I am sensitive to specific oils when it comes to what I'm diffusing at night and what allows me to sleep, whereas Beth and Millie may have other things that work for them. Animals are going to be the same way. So please keep that in mind. Keep a log if you have to. Fluffy was not keen on this, walked out of the room and was agitated, but when I used this oil, everything was good. So just keep that in mind, okay? All right, moving on. And as far as our last application is going to be internal. My biggest recommendation is going to be with veggie capsules. I think you have more control as to what's being administered versus I think sometimes adding it into food where you may not get the desired effect because it might be hanging out in the bowl a little bit. And again, they may not be real keen on you adding lavender to their kibble. That may not be something that's super high on their list of something that they're wanting to eat. So usually in veggie capsules I've used with my own dogs, I go 1 to 2 drops of essential oil at a time. Because that's being ingested, you can either use fractionated coconut oil or something like olive oil is going to be fine. So either one of those are, if you do need to top it off a little bit, that's completely fine. I've also had some owners in the past when we're talking about veggie capsules with oils, they've had issues where the dog will bite the capsules. So you may even want to, wrap it up in a piece of lunch meat or some other canned food. That way it's better protected, if you would. Mixing with wet food or with kibble, I would tell you to start with a small amount of food. Don't just dump an entire can of something and then a drop of lavender and you may have just wasted $2. So I would start with a small amount and just make sure that your dog or cat is going to eat it. Especially some of these prescription canned foods are super expensive. Drinking water, I don't recommend this in cats at all, but you can try it with dogs. So if you have a dog-cat mixed population in your house, I would not recommend utilizing essential oils in the water. I don't recommend using this with small dogs or even puppies as well. So if you've got older dogs that are a little bit bigger, you're welcome to try 1 drop of the desired essential oil with 2 cups of water. Again, they may tell you to kick rocks because it doesn't smell good, so don't be surprised. And then lastly, you can even try a single drop on your finger and rub along the gum line. I'll talk about this a little bit later. Again, your dog might be a little bit sensitive, and this is something I would maybe even try with a little dilution, where you could do, say, a drop of oil to 4 to 5 drops of carrier oil and then try that so you can just test for sensitivity. And I've had a lot of people ask about beadlets, peppermint beadlets, On Guard beadlets. You cannot use those. You cannot use On Guard toothpaste due to the xylitol. Xylitol is an artificial sweetener that came out some years ago, and it's wonderful for people, but it can actually cause liver toxicity and low blood sugar, which can lead to emergency visits for our dogs and cats. So please, please do not utilize those. Okay, so I kind of focused on the oils that I think I utilize the most when we're talking about dogs and cats. So this slide focuses on essential oils for dogs. The next slide will be for our kitties. So lavender, peppermint, lemon, frankincense, eucalyptus, helichrysum, basil, terra shield, lemongrass, digestin, serenity, and balance are just a few. There are definitely more out there. I'm going to talk about ones that we definitely want to avoid, but this would be a good place to start. And again, I would say the first four, lavender, peppermint, lemon, and frankincense, along with serenity, have been the ones that I have utilized the most across the board, and have, again, kind of grown to be the most comfortable with. Digestin more so recently, and adding in the others kind of as we go. And as far as our kitties are concerned, lavender, lemongrass, frankincense are probably my top three, serenity being my fourth one, and then a mix of marjoram, eucalyptus, oregano, super, super diluted, helichrysum, geranium, on guard, again, diluted or diffused, digestin, TerraShield, and as I mentioned before, serenity. So those are going to be some of my top oils I'm using for kitties. So as many of us are excited to be utilizing, Copaiba came out last year and has been just fantastic. People are reporting so many positive signs with it, anxiety, just overall health. So for animals, we can go ahead and utilize these. I listed a couple of things that, ways to use, and a little bit different from dogs to cats. So with dogs, you can diffuse as well. It does help with respiratory support, can help with anxiety, things along those lines. You can also apply it topically. Again, I have listed out the dilution that we want to use. So you're diluting it out with a carrier oil, and then you're only utilizing one drop. Again, I want to emphasize the importance of dilution here. For internal use, you can go ahead and add one drop every 8 to 12 hours, again, with a little food or ideally in a capsule. Now for our kitties, topical application is okay, but it is further diluted than it is for dogs. Diffusion is really the preferred method. So this would be something to add in, and I'm contemplating adding it in at the clinic for making, I do serenity in the clinic, and I may add in a drop of Copaiba just to see if it helps with anxiety with my dogs and cats that are coming in for their exams. So there's some information about that. There is more information available too, but that's a good place to start. And this I've got to talk about. This is also a hot topic, Melaleuca. So you will find a lot of information out there. Also, depending on the veterinarian, you'll find some people are utilizing it, some are not utilizing it at all. I'll be honest, I am trying to err on the side of caution and telling people not to use it. It's not to say that it's not safe, but my concern is any cats or dogs under 50 pounds, I really, really worry about people using it. This is something that can be very dangerous. I pulled up some information. One of the places, just in general for you guys to know, ASPCA has a great animal poison control center, and later in the PowerPoint, I've listed their phone number. Anytime your animal ingests something, you can call them. It's a nominal fee. I want to say it's like $55. But the great thing is you get to talk directly with a technician as well as a boarded toxicology veterinarian. So this is where all the latest and greatest information is. They actually have a lot of information about essential oils on there because they have, made such an amazing surge in society in the last few years. So talking about Melaleuca, they do focus on ensuring that if you're going to use it, you want to ensure that it's pure grade, certified therapeutic pure grade oil. You want to make sure that it is clean, that you know where the source is if you're going to even utilize that. As far as what you might see is for symptoms for a toxic reaction, it can be unsteadiness in the feet, loss of hind leg control, meaning they're trying to walk, but they look like a drunken sailor in the backside. Depression, not as far as what we categorize as depression for humans, but more mental dullness. If they're a super active dog or cat and all of a sudden they're just kind of hanging out in a corner, that's what we deem depression for dogs and cats. Low body temperature would be more in severe cases. If the body is going more into shock, we might see the body temperature drop. Can cause some vomiting, diarrhea initially. Say it was something that was ingested. Those can be some of the first signs that we see. So again, it's something where based on what you're reading, some people will utilize it if we've got wounds, if we have abscesses. For me, if you're going to utilize it, again, try and stick with larger dogs, super diluted, and in areas where they cannot reach it. So say a wound on the back. So just keep that in mind. But I definitely wanted to talk about that because there's tons of information out there.
There's so many other choices.
So many, absolutely.
Oil.
Absolutely. Okay, so as far as oils to avoid, my list here is pretty inclusive. One of the things that you'll find in some of the later recipes for kitties, you can diffuse On Guard, though it does contain clove. Clove is on there because it's not really something I'd want you to utilize directly on cats, nor have them ingest it. Again, talking about Melaleuca, I have it on the list more because avoid it if you can would be ideal. And deep blue, I've had a lot of questions about the deep blue polyphenols. I don't use them. It's not something that's recommended, but you will find veterinarians that are utilizing it topically, but I can't find any references that anybody's using it orally. So do be very cautious with that, more because of the wintergreen that's in there. If you have any pets that do have seizures, other ones you're going to want to avoid are going to be basil, rosemary, eucalyptus, fennel, and On Guard, again, because of the clove in there. So, I mean, like Beth said, we have lots of other great ones. The big one I want to focus on for cats is going to be any citrus oils. The reason that's important is because a lot of us like to diffuse citrus oils. They smell great, but the reality is they can be very toxic to our kitties. They can, they don't break down the oils like we do or like dogs do, and they can affect the liver directly. You can cause vomiting, depression, nausea, things like that. So be very conscientious. If you have lots of kitties in the house and you're living in, say, an apartment, I do not recommend diffusing any type of citrus oil. That's bergamot, lemon, lime, orange. So the list goes on and on. There's some of my favorites, so I have to avoid them. I've got 2 kitties in my house, and I have to diffuse them very sparingly and kind of behind closed doors where the cats are not. Okay, so essential oil safety. I've talked with Millie about this a lot. Really, it's common sense. And I know we don't all have the same level of common sense when it comes to this stuff, but the common sense I'm talking about is if you know your pets. If your dog is vomiting and they usually have a very solid stomach, after you started diffusing something, stop. And you can try maybe a week later, you know, make a note, okay, we started diffusing On Guard and something else, and gosh, there was a little vomiting there. Maybe next week we'll take out one oil and try again and just see. So just keep that in mind. I mean, think about yourself, think about children if you have them. How would you utilize essential oils? And if you saw problems, it's not something I want you to continue to do. Observe your pet's behavior. Anything topical, oral, diffusion, if they're not acting right, don't use it. And it's okay. Even if I have it listed as a safe oil, that may not be safe for your pet, and that's okay. If you're seeing any sort of skin irritation after a topical application, please don't panic. You can go ahead and use your carrier oils and apply over that area to dilute it out further. But within 24 hours, you should see an area, you know, pretty much any sort of irritation should go away. If things are, I mean, gosh, if your dog gets into an entire bottle of On Guard, you're not going to wait that one out. You're going to need to go see your veterinarian, make a phone call to poison control, and go from there. And obviously, as we mentioned before, only therapeutic or medical grade essential oils like doTERRA oils. Okay, so how am I using these with my patients? A couple different ways. Okay, a couple different ways that I like to utilize these. With transportation, if I know that a client has essential oils, I do recommend one, to go ahead and put any sort of carrier, especially for the cats, out a couple of days beforehand, and consider spritzing some lavender or serenity into that.
Hi, baby. Are you having fun outside?
Yeah. Hold on, guys.
Somebody's not muted. You guys can mute yourselves real quick. That would be great.
But that was one as far as transportation. Even in the car, I know Millie has one of her dogs that has had some car sickness, and she took a great picture for us going home where she was diffusing peppermint in the car, and we had a happy Sheltie after that, which was great. What I like to do at the clinic is we do diffuse all sorts of fun diffuser recipes up in our front area. We get lots of positive comments from clients, which is, you know, step one for me. It's great. You come in and the place doesn't smell like dogs and cats and things like that. It smells nice. We are very careful about the oils that we choose, but do lots of nice fun combinations, usually associated with whatever season or holiday it is. And then in the exam rooms, I have a diffuser for each room, and we are always diffusing Serenity in there. I put 1 to 2 drops in, one in the smaller room, and then 2 drops in the larger room, and we have that going. Mona, who is another one of our advocates, brought her shepherd in a couple of years ago, and I don't know if anybody has shepherds, but they tend to be a little high anxiety. And so Mona had mentioned that Stella was a high anxiety girl, and she was very calm in the room. And she, you know, stopped and said, I've never seen her this calm at a veterinary clinic. So that made me feel real good. I mean, we don't always have that same reaction, but it is nice when people notice that, you know, my dog or cat is a lot calmer than they usually are. And it does happen more often than not, which is great. During my house calls, I do like to utilize lavender or Serenity on the pets, even for the clients when I'm performing in-home euthanasias. I feel it just gives them more of a sense of relaxation. And again, we're trying to make this a very peaceful process. I've utilized frankincense for my cancer patients and seizure patients. My own dog had lymphoma a couple of years ago, and I was utilizing frankincense as well as Digestin twice a day for her during her chemotherapy. Utilizing allergy relief, lemon, peppermint, lavender combination. I like to do that more as a diffusion at home for animals. Again, dogs specifically. If you're going to be utilizing it for cats, we're talking about lemongrass. And then one of the big things that I like to do, I don't know if we can show, oh, we have got it here. I lied to you. So off to the right are the dog and cat reference guides. These are from the dog oiler. You can purchase these on Aromatic. You can even purchase these on her website. These I'm a huge, huge fan of. These are great little references. You can put it on your refrigerator, keep it close by, put it on your doTERRA box. I love these. She's got applications on there, ways to use them. So that one I just love. And then also I've hosted 2 Fido and Felix classes in the last year at the clinic, and we have more slated for this year. And I feel that that's a great way where you can make sprays that focus on 10 different areas for dogs or cats. So I'll give you guys the information on that. If you are local, you are welcome to attend. And if you have a pen, I'll give you, so the date is going to be April 16th at 6 p.m. It is a Monday night, and it's at Golden State Veterinary Care. It's a clinic in Castaic, California. So you guys are welcome to attend. We are going to put up some information about that in the next week so you can sign up. All right, so I want to focus on a few specific diseases and problems that I come across in practice where you can utilize the oils. So number one, especially in Southern California and this time of year where we get a great rain and then everything starts to bloom, it's going to be allergies, mostly for our dogs, but we definitely see it for our cats. And so I have listed a few things and a few ways that I've recommended for people to utilize the oils safely. So you can see across the board, lavender is very important. That's a big one. And now on the dog side, Melaleuca is listed there in a diffusion format. It's not applied, it's not ingested. That's one time where I say it's okay to use. And again, we're talking about like a drop of Melaleuca, but you can even have the frankincense and or On Guard at the same time. For kitties, lavender and myrrh. I know a lot of people are always wondering, how the heck do we use myrrh? That would be one way, is with allergies. So you can go ahead and apply that topically alongside of lavender. And again, when you're applying them, you can do it neat, but I would rather you dilute those out, and then you get a kind of a better coverage. And then the bathing, let's be honest with ourselves, cats and bathing sometimes do not go hand in hand. So if you have a cat that needs to be bathed to start, I'm sorry. But secondarily, you may want to look into a groomer that specializes in cats for your safety and your kitty's safety. So just something to think about. So there's some ways to utilize that. The other thing, as far as when we're talking about allergies, the things you're going to be looking for are going to be redness, itchiness, irritation. If you do see some of that stuff around the face, I just want to reiterate, you cannot, I really don't want you applying things around the face, around the eyes. So you can diffuse, and that will likely, well, my hope would be is it will lessen some of the signs. Next, we're going to be talking about anxiety and stress. That's a big, big thing. And one of the great things about veterinary medicine as of late is we're really focusing on fear-free exams when animals come to the clinic. It's not the most fun because we're poking and prodding and taking temperatures, things like that. So it's very, very important for you to start, if you can, lessening anxiety and stress prior to a visit. And then that way, when you come into the clinic, they're calmer, and my hope is in us diffusing serenity and trying to make a fear-free environment. Going to the doctor isn't so bad for them. So these are ways you can start topically up to an hour prior to going anywhere, or even people coming over. If you have a dog that gets anxious, you can go ahead and start with a drop of serenity, a drop of lavender and balance, a drop of frankincense, a drop of copaiba for dogs, because again, copaiba we want to kind of diffuse with cats versus topically. Diffusing, this is something that I'm a big believer in just for anxiety and stress, because not only is it helping them, it's helping us. So these are things, one drop of each or a combination of. You can go ahead and utilize the serenity, balance, copaiba, and frankincense. And then you can also put these same items on, or put the same oils on blankets and towels, minus the copaiba, and that may help kind of keep them calm, especially if they're kennel trained and they love their kennel. You can put it on their bedding and their any favorite toys.
This is nice for like 4th of July too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Huge, huge. All right, well, I have to talk about arthritis because everybody out there is doing such a great job caring for their dogs and cats that they are living longer. So unfortunately, we get to a point of most of them having arthritis to some degree or another. And again, this is going to be something that's going to complement the Western medicine that we're utilizing. One of the things that I push for in the clinic when we have arthritis is I think it's very important for pets to be on omega fatty acids as well as glucosamine supplementation. I do have specific brands that I recommend. A lot of people buy stuff from Trader Joe's, Costco. I'm going to tell you that stuff, there's not a lot of research behind it. Picking up human grade supplements are not going to be the same for dogs and cats. So the brands that I recommend for omega fatty acid, it's going to be Willactin or Freeform, and you can find those in both dog and cat varieties. As far as joint supplementations, I'm going to recommend, I like to use Dasaquin or Cosaquin. It's made from a company called Nutramax. I'm a big believer in those. I've got a 3-year-old pitty mix, and she has been on joint supplementations and omegas since we got her at 10 months of age. I think it's very important in prevention of arthritis and joint diseases, things like that. So that's just a little adage that I wanted to go over. When we're talking about the oils, you can incorporate lavender and frankincense. This is one of my favorite things to do with frankincense, is utilize it for arthritis. For dogs also, I don't have it listed here, but I think it is something you can go ahead and throw in a veggie cap 1 to 2 times a day, and that's very important. That again, you know, that cellular regeneration and supporting those joint cells is something that I feel that the frankincense can do. And then as far as topical application, you can rub this directly onto the affected areas utilizing coconut oil, frankincense, and peppermint as well. So for our kitties, lavender and frankincense, we cannot use the peppermint, but you can also use marjoram. This is kind of one of the other oils that I don't have listed here, but I know Beth is using, as she mentioned, is rosemary. That would be something I would do more for the dogs than the kitties. But again, looking at that last portion on the cat, we can do frank and marjoram with 4 drops of carrier oil. So talking about, going back to that initial slide where we talked about 250 drops, this is one where you can try 4 drops and rub that in. Again, less is more. So just keep that in mind. Dilution is important, and if your kitty doesn't like it, just dilute it out further. And you can focus on applying these to dogs and cats over the spine and even over the affected joints. All right, and then cancer. I hate to say that I'm seeing this more and more, but it's the absolute truth. It breaks my heart. I'm seeing it in younger dogs, mixed breed, kitties, cancers that I wasn't seeing 15 years ago. So we see it a lot. So that's why I wanted to put this slide in there. Cancers can be something that affect the skin. They can affect the gut. They can affect the heart. I mean, they can affect so many different things. So what I've done here is I've kind of laid out a game plan where you're treating anxiety, you're treating stomach upset, you're treating the actual cancer itself. And again, these are in conjunction with things like steroids and other chemotherapeutic agents, if that's a route that you are taking with your pet. So I'm not going to go through these in detail, but these are good things to have handy. With my own dog, again, dealing with her lymphoma, and she had a GI lymphoma, which is very rare, and she was only 4 years old. We utilized frankincense and digestin daily with her, and that did minimize her diarrhea, allowed her to eat, and helped her through her chemotherapy. So please keep these in mind. And then last slide that I want to talk about as far as what we see very commonly is diarrhea and vomiting. That's probably half the cases that I see in a day have to do with vomiting and diarrhea in kitties and dogs. So these are listed here not because I don't want you to bring your animals in with these signs, but if you start to see these, you can incorporate these straight away. For dogs, you can go ahead and apply topically some digestin and myrrh, dilute it out up to 6 times a day. We can start diffusing on guard just to support the immune system as it's going through a stressful time. The digestin is something that can be utilized. This goes back to that reflexology chart. That number 7 I was kind of focusing on, where you can put the oil along with a carrier oil in between that back inside pad. And then one of the ways that somebody has listed is you can swipe a drop of digestin in the mouth. Now, honestly, I don't like the taste of digestin, so let's be very honest and frank about that. It's not something I would highly recommend, but if you have a lab that doesn't care what they eat, they may not mind the taste of licorice, but I personally can't stand it, so something to keep in mind. For our kitties, digestin and myrrh as well, but we're only utilizing that 1 to 2 times a day versus 4 to 6 times a day for doggies. And we can also diffuse on guard. Again, that's one time when we can use clove for cats is when we're diffusing. Again, the clove being in the on guard, not directly. And then digestin, same thing, but we're diluting that out a little bit further. You have to remember cats are fastidious groomers, so anything you put on their tummy, they will lick it off. So we have to make sure that we're diluting that out. So 2 teaspoons of carrier oil, that's equivalent to 5 mLs. So just remember that's quite a bit. And then you're only taking 2 drops of that diluted solution. Okay, so just make sure you read that carefully. And then that same mix above, as I had mentioned, you can put it on a front paw to be licked off, again, in the hopes that it helps ease any tummy distress. All right, wrapping it up here, I just wanted to bring up that reflexology for the back legs for dogs and cats, and that's something that we can utilize. The next slide. Sorry. All right, as I mentioned before, Google and Pinterest, you have to be very careful. One of the running jokes in the veterinary field is people will come in and talk about what they looked up on Google. And so we call it Dr. Google. And I'm
Don't
being
do it.
very serious with you, because anybody can put information out there, and that's what you have to remember. They don't have to have a background in anything. They can just love their dogs and cats and put whatever they find and whatever they feel. So please, please, please be very careful. Same with Pinterest. There is a lot of good information out there, but you have to be cautious about it. So what I do recommend are the 3 things that are listed there: the Spoil Your Pet. I don't know if we can show the picture.
When we're
Done. Okay. I'll show you guys a picture of the book. Animal Desk reference. I apologize. I did not bring that. That is more for a veterinarian reference, if you would. That is approximately 2 inches thick. Nowadays, I think that book's going for about $200. It is not inexpensive. It is written by a veterinarian as well. It's great for me, but I don't know if you would want to get it, for your dog and cat. I think there are other things that are available for you. And my absolute favorite online reference is going to be dogoiler.com. And then Dr. Rourke's other website is Essential Oil Vet. She's another good one you can jump on. I believe her Facebook site is Essential Oil Vet. She is great. She does a lot of blogs. She does a lot of Q&As live. So she is my absolute favorite. She's one I did reach out to at this last convention. And we talked about if we felt doTERRA was maybe going to have more of a push for essential oil research for animals, and it does not sound like they are going to, which is unfortunate, but I understand it. It's, the focus right now is people and ensuring that it is safe for us to use. But the cool thing about Dr. Rourke is she does have a background in aromatherapy and has been practicing a while as well, and has found a lot of great remedies that has helped. So feel free to look her up. And then, as I had mentioned before, the ASPCA.org, there's a lot of great information on there, especially if you have concerns with any sort of toxicity. And their poison control hotline number is listed there as well. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was just my 2 cents. The reality is there's not a lot of research for essential oils. And when I say research, it's scientific research. A lot of it goes based on what we're seeing in humans, based on what is or is not safe from a scientific standpoint, meaning like citrus oils, what we have found in the past. So be patient is the reason I'm saying that. It will come. I feel like there's going to be a big push for it in the next 5 to 10 years, which is very exciting. So again, if I don't have the answers, or if another veterinarian doesn't have the answers, please be patient with us, because we are coming from a medical background and we are trying to incorporate the oils as best we can. So I may not always have or say the right thing for you, but bear with me. I believe, again, essential oils are best utilized along with Western medicine. I will always incorporate them. They will not be my first line of defense. I'll be very honest with you. Aromatherapy training is very beneficial. My hope is to do that in the next couple of years. And that way I can better, answer questions and treat my patients. And the important thing is I want you to understand, you may love your veterinarian, and you may go to them and say, I want to use essential oils, and they may look at you like you're nuts. Please understand, not all vets are comfortable with essential oils. We are not trained that way in veterinary schools, so you have to kind of go above and beyond if you want to utilize these. So please, please understand that. The other thing I was talking with Beth about too is I think it's important that I do help answer questions and things like that. But if there's something going on with your pet that is very specific, what I'm going to ask that you do with myself or any other veterinarian that you're going to set up an appointment with to discuss essential oils, you need to do just that. You need to set up an appointment. We need to look at your dog or cat as a whole. We need to look at blood work. We need to look at their health status before talking about what oils can we use. Because you can look at some of this information I'm going to show you here in a minute, and it says these are good if your dog is a healthy, happy animal without any medical problems, period, end of story. So we have to be very conscientious of underlying diseases that may or may not affect metabolism of essential oils. So please keep that in mind. All right, and that is all I've got.
That was amazing.
I'm only laughing at the picture. I'm sorry.
Cute little Sharpay butt.
I do have some questions that I think you kind of answered already. So if you want to go through it, I wrote them down. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking for any other participants, just type them in. And I think the first one was just when we were talking about the compress.
Sure.
Was it 1 or 2 drops?
It's 1 or 2 drops, kind of depending. I would say start with 1, and then you can go ahead if your pet is tolerating it, you can add in 2 drops.
I don't know if you can understand my writing.
Yes. I'm sorry, I'm looking over the computer here, guys, because Millie has these great questions written down. So the next one was a 10-month-old lab mix who licks his legs and paws constantly. What can I use? Okay, so very likely we're dealing with some sort of contact irritant is what, and especially a lab mix. That's going to be my knee-jerk reaction. What I would say is, if this is a situation where your lab is on grass or out and about, we're running at the dog park or something like that, anytime they come in, clean the paws, clean in between the digits, because what happens is with contact allergens, whether it's a true environmental allergy or something that's just causing irritation between the toes, you want to try and remove those allergens. So you can physically do that by using, whether it be a warm washcloth, hypoallergenic baby or pet wipes, get those irritants off. And then I would say reference back to the allergy references that I talked about earlier in the presentation: lemon, lavender, peppermint, utilizing those, whether it be topical or internal. The other thing, bringing that up, I don't use the Tri-Ease capsules. I use single drops in a capsule or topically. So if that comes up later, I apologize. I meant to say that. So that's what I would do with your silly little lab. The other thing you could also do too might be frankincense once a day alongside those lemon, lavender, and peppermint. Okay.
So this one is, I heard they can't, but that was the question.
Yep. So the question is, can cats' bodies metabolize essential oils at all? Yes, they can. They can. As far as the ones we are the most concerned about are going to be the citrus oils. Their livers cannot break those down. They will become very, very sick. Other oils, they can definitely go ahead. They can ingest, they can break down. Again, going back to if they are happy, healthy animals. If we're talking about a 14-year-old kitty that has kidney disease, maybe not. So, I mean, that's something to think about.
To piggyback on that question, even if the house is open and you have cats that go in and out, should she avoid diffusing citrus?
Here's what I would say about that. If you have a huge open floor plan in your house and you've got 1,000 square feet and your cats are not just hanging out, sitting next to the diffuser, they go up and down stairs, in and out of rooms, you're likely okay if you're diffusing 1 or 2 drops, to be very honest with you. If it is a small room, we're talking about an apartment where you've got maybe 700 square feet, I would not do it, to be honest with you. I would find something else. Utilize lemongrass instead of lemon. I know it's a different smell, but I think you kind of get that citrus-y effect, if you would.
I think, so there's that question that just came up. Just oil support suggestions for diabetes in dogs.
Yes, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I have one of the books I wanted to talk about was this Spoil Your Pet. So this is Dr. Frizo is the DVM, the veterinarian that helped write this. This book is from 2012. There is, and I'm glad you brought this up because I have had a diabetic cat for 8 years that unfortunately we had to just recently let go. But this was something that I did kind of incorporate with her. Again, her being a kitty, we have to be very careful. But there is a specific area in this book that talks about diabetes. Okay, so that's the cool thing about this book. And you've got over here, we've got a dog and a cat version. So when we talk about the dog, there aren't a lot of oils that are going to fix your diabetes. What I would tell you to focus on is going to be if your dog has any GI upset, we need to focus on ensuring that there's no vomiting because I need your dog to eat in order for me to give insulin. So digestin might be something to incorporate. Frankincense is going to be something to incorporate. Some people will also use balance as well. For diabetics, this is something we did with my kitty. You want to make sure, I think omega fatty acids are going to be very important. The specific oils that are recommended in here by Dr. Frazo are going to be the metabolic blend, which are going to be slim and sassy. So you could even incorporate grapefruit if you wanted to into the drinking water, or applying it topically 1 to 2 times a day. Balance and Serenity are also in there. I think that's just more if there's any anxiety associated with the disease. And they do mention here omega-3s and probiotics. Probiotics are a hit or miss for dogs. They can sometimes cause diarrhea. So use caution, make sure you're using a high quality. But as far as fixing your diabetes, it's not going to happen, because what's going on in the body is your dog's pancreas just simply isn't making insulin. So I don't have an essential oil that is insulin. So you have to administer insulin. So I would just focus on treating, again, frankincense, any GI signs, and just keeping your dog happy, healthy, free from any anxiety. Okay. 7-pound Chihuahua, pea-sized cyst near her bottom. Okay, so here I'm going to go get doctory on you. So are we talking about a cyst? Are we talking about a mass? If we're talking about a cyst or a mass, either one, what you can do is you can take frankincense. You can dilute that, I would probably say, with a teaspoon of, given that she's a Chihuahua, she's a teeny tiny thing, a teaspoon or 2 of a carrier oil. You can apply that topically. Try and prevent her from licking it off, because you want it to try and penetrate that area. As far as dermal or skin masses, I do find the frankincense can sometimes help shrink those. The cyst is actually, if it is a cyst, it's under the skin. So the tough part is going to be penetration of not only the skin, but that cystic capsule. So that might be a little bit hard to do. So you may want to incorporate frankincense internally to do, to deal with something like that. This may be a skin tag. It may be something just because she's older. So again, you can still apply a little bit of frankincense to that area. That's probably about all I would do, but definitely have it checked out if it's getting worse. If it's something that needs to be removed, that's something to think about. And let's see. My cat is always throwing up. What oils can I use on her? Okay, so that goes back to the last slide we talked about, where we're going to go ahead and incorporate things like the digestin. Please hold. We want to incorporate diffusing On Guard, digestin and myrrh 1 to 2 times a day topically, again with a carrier oil. I like the digestin. That's going to be my first one that I'm going to grab for in a kitty, very diluted out. And again, taking that concoction we talked about with the 2 drops of digestin with a teaspoon of carrier oil, and then taking 2 drops of that. That's what we're going to be utilizing on the belly, as well as on just one of the front paws, where she or he may want to lick that off and go from there. The other thing, if your cat is always throwing up, I'm going to go back to the doctory stuff and tell you that if this is continuing, it's not normal. There may be an underlying cause for it. Cats, unfortunately, as they age, can get IBD, IBS, whatever you'd like to call it. They can develop lymphoma, which can look very similar to IBD, kidney disease, liver disease. There's lots of stuff, even thyroid disease. So if this is continuing, there may be a reason, and we want to try and figure out what's going on, because it's not normal for a cat to throw up every day, because I can promise you there's not a hairball in it every day. Okay. So, citrus oils in the litter box? No.
Hard no.
Hard no. One of the other cool things in here, there is, again, this is in the Spoil Your Pet.
There's even an app for that. Somebody posted.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, guys. Thank you. There is, in the back, they have some great, I'll pull it up for you. Here we go. They have a litter box powder.
Love it.
Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, the idea behind it is fantastic. There are some, lemongrass, lavender, digestive blend, those would be things in there. They do have wild orange, but again, this is where I'm going to tell you to don't do that. There are other things, as Beth mentioned, there are other oils out there. The thing about cats, and you know your cat's best, cats don't like change. So if you put one of these things thinking, I'm going to make this smell amazing, your cat may tell you to kick rocks, and they're going to start crapping or peeing outside the litter box. Just going to give you a heads up, that's what happens, because that's what cats do, and they love to keep me on my toes in doing stuff like that. So if you're going to do it, what I would say is maybe 2 litter boxes, try one with the litter box freshening powder, try one without. If your cat's not going in the one with the essential oil stuff, it's not working for your kitty. So just don't. That's what I would tell you. Just don't.
I love that you have the option of the unscented one, so it
Versus
doesn't
yes.
end up somewhere else.
Right.
So smart.
Right. You got to think like a cat.
We had a question just come up. My dog is always eating leaves, etc. when out in the yard. Stomach issue? ?
No, I wish it was a stomach issue. More than likely it's not. If it's grass, then maybe. Leaves, probably a young dog, I would imagine. It's something fun for them to do. My 3-year-old Pit does it all the time. When she goes to doggy daycare, she comes home and she craps out and pukes up twigs, leaves, all sorts of fun stuff that she doesn't do at my house because she doesn't have access to it. So it's just something for funsies. What I would say, if it does turn into a problem, they do make these great, it sounds awful, but it's a basket muzzle that will prevent them from picking up items, but it allows them to drink. So you can Google basket muzzles.
I may need one.
Yeah. Millie's going to get one for herself. It's going to be great.
Thank you so much.
You're
This was
welcome.
phenomenal. Is
You're
there
welcome.
any other resources you want to point them to?
Yes, I would like to. So this is something that I printed out from the dog oiler. This is great, and I wanted to show you up here at the top. She's got all sorts of little boxes. She's got a usage chart. She has the warnings over here. She has great recipes as well. So she is just my favorite. So this is one of the things I really would recommend you guys checking out today. As far as, again, this is the book I was talking about. There are some other ones out there. There is one, and I apologize, I cannot remember the name of it because as I was talking with Millie about it, there was a lot of information in there that I felt was dangerous. It was one based on another essential oil company. But again, just another veterinarian that put that together. It was not one that I recommended, but this has been my favorite one. I've been using this for the last few years. You can tell I've got little tears in it over here, so it's been loved. And then as far as the Fido and Felix class, this is the breakdown as far as what you make in it, and this is one of the this is a one for good breath. This is great. With this comes another little great essential oils for dogs and cats, a lot of information. This is, again, in conjunction with Dr. Rourke. A lot of good information on here. I will be handing these out. You can get them yourself if you wanted to purchase on Aroma Tools or anything like that. EO Tools has them. But so you've got 10 fun little recipes that can be made. These do make spray bottles. The one little side note I like to mention about spray bottles is, in theory, it sounds great, but to spray directly into an animal, you may have that pet running on you. So I would recommend sometimes spraying into your hand, a couple pumps, and then utilizing it from there. Because some dogs, my Pitty does not mind stuff being sprayed on her, but my little Yorkie mix, she will take off and not talk to me for the day. If that is the case. So that is all I have. Thank you guys. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, I wanted to remind you guys that if you are local, if you're in Santa Clarita, Dr. Yamamoto has an office in Castaic. So if you have questions regarding your pet, it's not really something she can give you advice on if she hasn't seen them, just for safety. Like, she has to see what's going on and do a consultation and an evaluation. Just like if you were going to go see your doctor, you can't call them on the phone. They're going to want you to come in so they can see what's going on and get an overall picture, so that they're not talking about something that's not actually happening. So if you do want to see her, make an appointment. It's easy, it's simple, we've done it. And like she said, there's going to be serenity diffusing in that office. You're going to have a happy critter. And she does have that class coming up on the 16th, April 16th. So if you're in the area, you can go.
It'll be at 6 p.m., probably go from 6 to 8 or 8:30.
Yes. Again, so wonderful. Thank you for being on.
Thank you.